Hello, my name is Biernacki, and I am honored to be helping you. I am a special education teacher in a Catholic school on the south side of Chicago. I teach and work with kids from preschool through 8th grade. How do you consent to an evaluation, and how often are they reviewed and advised? So a little different in an IEP and a 504. In an IEP, the parent or caregiver must consent in writing for the evaluation and prior to any services being provided. It has to be reviewed annually. There are goals that are set in the IEP, and those goals must be reviewed and discussed on an annual basis. And the child has to be reevaluated every 3 years. Sometimes we call that the triennial or the triennial evaluation to determine whether those services are still needed. Sometimes if it's specifically, I'm just going to use the example of speech services. Maybe your child had a difficulty with articulation, or their expressive language skills were weak compared to their peers, and they had 3 years of speech therapy, and now they're fine and they no longer need those services. So that's why the purposes of having that triennial evaluation. In a 504, parent or a caregiver must consent to the evaluation, and generally speaking, 504s are reviewed each year and children are reevaluated every 3 years. Examples where that might not take place are, let's say a child has diabetes and needs to have medication, needs to have a diabetes medical management plan on file with the school, and the teachers need to be aware of any changes in behavior that might indicate that there is a problem with their sugar levels. That may not change from year to year. The same management plan might stay in place. So it may not be necessary to review that every year. That's just one example. Also, to make note, foster parents do need to seek permission from the DCFS caseworker prior to pursuing an evaluation. What is included in an IEP and a 504? In an IEP, we have what we call PLOP. There's lots of acronyms in education. Which means the present levels of performance. How is your child currently doing in each of their classes? What kind of grades are they getting? What are the teacher's observations? What are those annual education goals that are going to be set for your child? What services is your child going to receive? And what is the timing of those services? So if they are receiving occupational therapy, how many minutes per week are they receiving that? What is abbreviated as MPW, often on the IEP, minutes per week. That might be 30 minutes, or it might be 60 minutes, or it could be more than that. Same thing for speech. If the child needs additional reading intervention, what does that look like? That might be 30 minutes a day. So what is the timing of those services that they're receiving? Accommodations, those are changes to the learning environment. So not only is it my child needs to sit in the front of the classroom near the teacher, away from distractions, needs to have movement breaks during the day. So we think of that as environment. But it can also mean that his assignments or her assignments, if the rest of the class is assigned 20 problems at night for math, your child may only need 10. And that would be based on them just being able to indicate that they understand the concept that they're learning, but they don't need to do it in 20 problems, they can do it in 10 problems. Depends on what those accommodations are. Whereas modifications are changes to what the child is actually expected to know or do. So, for example, if the third grade, for example, is working on fractions and understanding what fractions are, but your child is still having difficulty with numeracy or addition of numbers and understanding concepts such as greater than and less than, and so they may not move on to fractions yet until they have a better understanding of the basics. That would be a modification. Your child is not expected to know the same information as his or her classmates. In a 504, it's not very standard. It can look very different depending on the child. And it actually does not have to be legally, does not have to be written. My suggestion is to parents, though, if their child qualifies for a 504, they should go ahead and have it done in writing. And the reason I say that is that document can carry them all the way through grammar school, high school, into college, and beyond in the workplace, depending on what their disability is and why they have a 504. It does outline specific accommodations, supports, and services for the child, the names of who in the school will be providing each of those services. If, for example, your child might suffer from anxiety and needs to visit with the counselor, maybe in the morning, even before school starts, just to kind of calm themselves and have a good start to the day, that would be, the counselor's name would be in there as the person providing that service for your child. And then the name of the person that's responsible for making sure that the plan is implemented.